Metropolitan Business League, our board of directors, and our CEO, Floyd Miller. I'd like to welcome you all to our virtual town hall series. I'd like to say continue. We started this series in April with the goal to ensure we continue our commitment to small women and minority-owned businesses, ensure our ability to pivot during these unprecedented times. During this portion for the rest of May and a few sessions in June, we are focusing on the recovery period for businesses impacted by COVID-19. Also, we invite you to learn more about the MBL, to include programming opportunities we create specifically for MBL members, to include our current opportunity, which I am just overjoyed about our announcement on yesterday, the MBL Small Business Recovery Fund, which is an effort to show our commitment to recovering one business one day at a time. The Metropolitan Business League, we recognize that COVID-19 has put a difficult burden on our small business community. And so while there are many loan opportunities available on both the local, the state, and federal level, we at the MBL understand that not all businesses are able to take on any additional debt during this time. So in response to these challenges, in response to the feedback that we've received from our members, we have established this fund, which is a grant to provide small women and minority-owned businesses with an emergency grant during the world crisis. This effort is in partnership between the MBL and Wells Fargo Bank, the Community Foundation, and the Robbins Foundation, all initial investors to seed this first round of funding. So we're grateful for their partnership. In addition, we've partnered with LISC Virginia to provide all grant recipients with complimentary small business advisory sessions. We want to make sure we're giving you wraparound services in addition to the grant. And so we encourage you all to apply today by visiting the mbl.org online, clicking on our resources tab where you'll find more information along with the application to apply for the MBL Small Business Recovery Fund. Keep in mind the application closing date is Friday, May 29th, so we encourage you to apply today. But we also have something special for our non-members as well. We're offering individuals and small business owners free membership through June 30th. So if you're not a member, this allows you to take advantage of our membership offerings, all of them, now at no cost. We encourage you to take advantage of this membership promotion by signing up again on our website at the mbl.org. And while there, you also have the opportunity to learn ways in which you can support the MBL so that we can continue to do this important work of serving the small business community. So I hope that you all are excited about these opportunities as much as we are. I'd like to move on and introduce our speaker, who I'm so excited about, that she's able to join us from Australia today. So Laura Posey, she's an international recognized speaker, author, and consultant. She is known as the Simple Planning Specialist for her unique ability to simply and easily laser focus her clients to get dramatic results. Her simple strategic plan is used by over 2,500 companies from startups to Fortune 100. She is the author of How to Plan Your Entire Year on One Sheet of Paper. So I hope everyone has a pen and pad out. And co-author with Jack Canfield of Mastering the Art of Success. Laura is a graduate of SUNY at Buffalo and holds an MBA from Virginia Commonwealth University. She is fluent in German and is currently working on her Spanish. When not on stage or with a client, you can find her traveling the world, playing golf, practicing the fiddle, or snuggling with her rescue mutt, George, at home in Richmond, Virginia. But again, today, she will be speaking to us from Sydney, Australia. So we welcome you, Laura, and thank you so much in advance. The floor is yours.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is the power of technology, right? Is that
Yeah.
I can say yes, I'm happy to be here speaking, and I can do it from anywhere in the world, in any time zone, with just a little laptop. And so for those of you that have technology challenges, this is a great time for you to start working on those, to start beefing up your tech skills, and to hop on board and get really comfortable in this virtual environment. So I'm gonna pop up some slides here just because they keep me focused and keep me on time and make sure that I don't run over. I wanna make sure that we have lots of time for our Q&A today, because to me, that's where the fun is, that's where the meat is. right? I love answering personal questions and making sure that I can help individuals on this call. So if you have questions as we go along, put them in the chat window. We're going to collect them all. We're going to make sure we get as much answered as we can. So today's topic is developing your post-COVID business strategy, right? And so right now, we've been in this for a few months, and a lot of people are doing, the new word is pivot, right? Like, what am I going to do? And a lot of people are creating a lot of short-term plans for their businesses right now and looking at, when this thing changes, when things open back up, what am I going to do? And I think that the big challenge that we have right now is there's no timeline, right? We're talking about opening things back up. Some things are coming back, some things aren't. There's phases. But there's always this warning of, if we open things back up and they don't go well, we're going to shut them back down, right? So there's just this uncertainty, this fear and this chaos around, when are things going to get back to normal? And so what I would challenge you to do is to let go of the word normal and not look back and say, when are things going to go back? But ask the question, how are things going to be, and how am I going to adapt to whatever comes along? So when we're looking at business strategy, we do a one-page strategic planning process. And on that one-page plan, there are things like your core values, right? What are the beliefs that you have about the way business should be done, and how you should interact with people, and how you want people to interact with you? Well, guess what? Those don't change just because the world changes outside and COVID has come in and changed the way we interact with people. Our belief systems should be the same. So that piece of your strategic plan should stay the same. The next thing that's on your plan is your business vision, right? What is it that you really want to accomplish overall? So I like to think of the business vision as, if you were building a house, then you would have this picture in your mind of what it is that you really want to build. And then you would have an artist work with you to draw out this beautiful home that you're building, right? How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Is it 2-story or 1-story? Is it brick or wood or stone or a combination? Right? It's this picture of what it is that you're ultimately building. Well, just because things have changed in the short run, your business vision probably hasn't changed, right? You still want to build the same thing. You're just going to go about it a little differently. So the next thing that goes on that one-page plan are your 3-year targets. Like, where do you want to be in 3 years? And I'd like to challenge you to keep those the same. To say, you know what? Things are different now, but I still want to be at that same level in 3 years. I'm not going to change that. And then the next thing that comes on your one-page plan are your 1-year goals. And so what I really want to challenge you to is to change your tactics for 2020, but not your goals. Plant those stake in the ground and say, I'm still going to achieve the same level of success this year. I'm just going to have to change the way I get there, right? So I use the building example, but I think a really good example is this trek that I've been on here in Australia. When I came to Australia for a vacation, and I had a vacation planned, right? We had lots of Airbnb reservations and all kinds of places that we were going to go. And when I got here, very quickly everything shut down. No pubs, no restaurants, no wineries, like all the places that we planned to go, closed. So my vacation then became get in the car and drive cross country and see the outback and see all sorts of places that I wouldn't have otherwise seen. So still an amazing vacation, just a really different path, right? Car versus airplanes and trains, seeing lots of natural beauty, getting out and hiking instead of going in and doing all the sort of social things. So I want you to think about this with your business. How do you change your tactics, but not your goals? And when we look at goals for, when we're looking at how are you going to achieve your goals, there's 2 ways There are two components to achieving goals. There are what we call activities and projects. And so in your one-page plan, you're going to have the activities and the projects. And those are the pieces of the plan that adapt and change, not just during the COVID time, but post-COVID as well. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through what's the difference between the activities and projects, give you some examples, and then show you some ways that some clients give you some real life examples of the way that clients have gone about doing that. So activities are things that you do every single week. Okay, they're the sort of bread and butter, they're ongoing activities in your business. They are highly measurable. So activity there's a number of something that you're going to do. And oftentimes activities are sales related. And I'll give you some examples here in a minute of what activities might be. But these are the day in, day out things that have to be done to keep the business afloat. And they may be things that you've been doing for a long time, and maybe you want to do more of them, or maybe you need to change the kind of activities that you're doing. We'll look at some examples here in a moment. Projects, on the other hand, are the changes that you need to make to your business, the things that have to be different, that have to be built in a different way. So projects are one-off. They have a defined beginning and a defined end. And when you've done them, the project is over, right? And a project is something that can be broken down into little teeny tasks. And projects are kind of easy because they always start with a verb. Like, I'm going to do something, I'm going to build something, I'm going to create something, I'm going to start something, I'm going to launch something. And so but there's I'm going to start here, I'm going to do these tasks, and then it's done, and I'm not going to do it again. So let's look at some examples to make it really clear. So when we look at activities, I want you to choose no more than 4 activities that you're going to do week in and week out. And so one of the activities that you might do is you might track the number of sales calls that you're making. And sales calls used to be in person a lot of times, right? You would go visit somebody. Well, now a sales call may be that you're picking up the phone and actually calling somebody. A sales call might be you're actually sending an email, right? So big shift in the number, in the kind of sales calls that you're going to make. So when you're looking at your changes, changing your tactics, maybe you want to increase the number of sales calls, because if you're not having to go out and meet people in person, you can do a lot more of them. I can send a whole lot more emails than I can go out and talk to people one-on-one. So maybe I want to increase the number of calls that I'm making, but also maybe I want to increase what I mean by the sales call, right? Maybe I want to look at changing what I mean by sales call. Maybe that means emails now. Maybe one of the activities that you have is looking at the number of LinkedIn connections that you're making and reaching out to people and prospecting through LinkedIn. Back in the old day, maybe you would do that once a week because you're out running around doing things. Well, now that you're not allowed to go out and run around, maybe the number of LinkedIn connections that you're going to make is going to go way up. Maybe that's something you're going to do every single day now. Right? So your in-person networking that you used to do is now being replaced with online networking through something like LinkedIn or Facebook or I don't know, TikTok or whatever other kind of crazy stuff there is out there. One of the activities that you may measure is how many new appointments that you've booked each week, right? How many new people are you talking to about using your services? Again, in the old days, a new appointment might have been an in-person, right? So you'd have to space them out because you'd have travel time in between them. So in the new world, and again, post-COVID, just because people are allowed to go out and run around doesn't mean that they're going to. A lot of people who weren't used to being in a Zoom environment or in a virtual environment are going, hey, this is kind of good, right? I could put on a decent shirt and still wear pajama bottoms and conduct my business. And I don't have to travel, and I don't have to go places, and I don't have to spend money. So the number of appointments that you're booking could go way up because you don't have all that travel time. And even measuring things like the number of hours that you work, and looking even at your staff and the number of hours that they're booking, right? Those are metrics, those are activities that can go actually way up during COVID and post-COVID time. So I want you to look at those activities and say, what are the ones that are most crucial for me hitting my goals, and how do I have to change those activities? Those are one of the tactics. Do I need to increase the number, or do I need to change the type of activity that I'm doing, right? Because it may be that one of the activities that you used to do was get out and network. You used to go to a lot of meetings. You used to go to a lot of big networking meetings and meet a lot of folks. Well, that doesn't happen in these days. So how does that have to change? And the other thing that we want to look at are the projects. And remember, these are the changes that have to happen in your business, the big stuff that's got to get done to go from being like this to being like this. And I'm going to challenge you, so on your one-page plan, I'm going to challenge you to choose no more than 4 projects per quarter that you're working on. And the reason that we do that, the reason that we have these constraints, is that if you put too much on your plate, if you have too many projects that you're trying to get done, there's a high likelihood that you're going to get none of them done. You're going to feel really busy and you're going to be doing a lot of stuff, but nothing's going to get done. And by putting those constraints in place and saying, look, you can do 4 things this quarter, 4 projects, it forces you to choose the 4 that are the most important. It forces you to say, this is crucial, and that's a nice to do. One of the things that we like to do with our clients is, if you've got a big long list of stuff that you really think you want to get done, choose the 4 for this quarter that are absolutely crucial and put everything else on what we call a not now list. And the not now list is great. That's where you write down all of those opportunities that come flying in every day. I could do this, I could do this. Oh, this person says I could do this. Oh, I should learn this, I should learn that, I should take this class, I should do. Put them all on your not now list. Go back to your plan, do what's on your plan. And then when everything's on your plan is done, you can go over to your not now list and you can choose something from there to get done. What's really cool about the not now list, and this is actually a tactic that I learned from Roy Disney, Walt Disney's brother. I didn't learn it personally, I read about it. It was how he kept Walt focused, because Walt was an idea machine. And by having that not now list, for Walt Disney was actually a file, it allowed Roy and Walt to focus on one thing, to get it done, and then to go look at that list of big ideas and pick the next idea. What's really cool about the not now list is there's a delay between when you write the stuff down and when you're going to go do it. And so by the time you get around to doing it, you're going to look at that list, and about 95% of the stuff on it, you're going to look at it and go, that's stupid. I don't know why I thought I wanted to do that. I'm really glad I didn't spend time on it. So your not now list will get really short really fast. All right, so four projects per quarter. So let's look at some examples of what projects might be, right? Maybe one of the projects that you need to do is you need to add a new product line, right? So again, it's got a defined beginning and end. So if you're going to launch a new product line, right, you're going to go through a whole series of tasks of researching what product it might be, figuring out how you're going to source it, figuring out how you're going to price it, figuring out how you're going to deliver it, right? And then setting it up to go sell. Whether that's creating a web page for it, or one sheets, calling people up and just going, hey, do you want to buy this? Right? So it's a project. So once you've added the new product line, it's done. And then the selling of it becomes an activity. Right? Does that make sense? One of the things, a project could just be to build a new web sales page. Right? That's got a defined beginning and end. Right? So I got to figure out, I've got to write the copy for it. I've got to pick the images. I got to figure out what I'm going to sell on it. I got to do the pricing. But once the page is built and live, project done. Maybe you need to launch a new webinar. Maybe your business was built on talking to people in person. It was built on networking. It was built on live sales calls. And maybe there's an education piece to what you do. And so you want to start doing some webinars. So launching a new webinar is a project. Once you've done the outline, put the slides together, figured out how you're going to deliver it and invited people, boom, webinar over, then it shifts to an activity. Or maybe you just need to write a new cold call script. That's a really small project, but it could be one of the most important things for you to do during this time. If you're not used to picking up the phone and calling people, you're used to doing in-person networking and talking to people, maybe what you need to do is you need to have a new script for calling on the phone. Or maybe you need to write a cold call script for LinkedIn connections. Right? Creating that script is the project, and then using it week in and week out is the activity. So does this make sense? I'm purposely not looking at the chat. I can see the chat numbers going up, but I'm purposely not looking over there because I know I have people that are watching it for me. So one of the questions that happens is we're looking at post-COVID, right? So the strategies that we just talked about are things that we can use anytime there's chaos and change in our world. Our values stay the same, our vision stays the same, our targets stay the same, our goals stay the same. What we do is change the tactics. We change the how I'm going to get there. In the post-COVID world, we've got to ask ourselves, are we going to keep the new tactics or are we going to go back to the old ones, right? We have this wonderful opportunity now to try out new business models. And the beautiful thing about it is that for a lot of us, we're able to test these new business models while everybody else is testing too, right? So we're not at a disadvantage. A lot of times if you've got a strategy and you're running down the road with it and you decide you want to try something different, it can set you back. But everybody's in the same boat right now. So we're all testing, we're all trying new things. And so we've got to then decide in this post-COVID world, do we keep the same tactics? Do we go back to the old? And I want to challenge you to say that it doesn't necessarily have to be an or. It might be an and. You might go back and add in some of the old tactics that you were doing that were working before, but some of the old tactics may not be working as well. You may have to keep some of the new ones, or what you may find is that the new ones are better in a lot of ways. So we're going to keep most of the new ones and just add in a few of the old ones. So one of the things I want to do is just give you a couple of examples of some clients that have done these big shifts and changed their tactics and what they're thinking post-COVID. So one of my clients, Carol, sells office supplies. So in her old business, it was her job to find the paper and the pens and the toner and the office supplies, put them in a van and deliver them to individual businesses, right? That was her job. So as she got into this COVID world, she had to change her tactics. She's like, hey, wait a minute, nobody's going to the office. There are no office supplies to be delivered. Nobody needs them. So she stepped back and said, what is it that I really do? I procure things for people who need them, right? I go find a source and I find a buyer and I'm the connector. And so she sat down and said, well, what do people need right now? What do businesses need, right? She's like, I'm a business to business person. What do businesses need? She said, businesses need PPE, right? They need masks and gowns and thermometers and medical supplies. So she went out and said, hey, I can figure out how to get those things. So she went to the hospitals and the doctor's offices and said, what do you need and how much of it? And then set about finding the sources and figuring out how to get it there, because that was her job, was procurement. She had just always done it in the office supply niche. So now she's looking at her business and saying, you know what, my business is not just office supplies. My business is procurement. I source and deliver lots of different things. So now she's looking at the post-COVID world and saying, there are all these different opportunities. There are all these different kinds of businesses, and I can figure out what they need and figure out how to get it to them, because that's what we're good at doing. Her shift, this shift to PPE, she got one new client for thermometers. She's got a bazillion clients in the PPE side now, but just one order is going to blow her 2020 goals out of the water. She got an order for 6,000 thermometers.
Wow.
And she's having to source it from like 10 different suppliers, right? It's like she can't just like go get them and show them up and deliver them. It's work, right? She's finding lots of 20 thermometers here and 100 over there. But that one thing is going to blow her goals out of the water. And so, it's just changing the tactics, but her goals have stayed the same. And moving forward, she's going to go back to office supplies. She'll still do that, but she's going to keep the PPE side as well. She's got new medical clients, and she's going to figure out, okay, if they don't need PPE, what else do they need? And start supplying those things to them. There's another client of mine, Virginia. She's got talk about a business that got hard hit. She lives in London. All of her clients are in Italy. And she is a consultant in the sustainability area. And so her whole job was to get on a plane in London, fly to Italy, deliver this in-person consulting one-on-one with companies about creating sustainable businesses. Well, as you can imagine, when COVID hit, no flying, Italy shut down, everything, zero. Income went to nothing. She's got 2 kids and she's a single mom. So she had to figure out what she was going to do. So she said, okay, again, stepping back, what do I really do? What is my job? She said, well, my job is to help businesses create sustainability. It's about environmental sustainability. And so she looked at that and she said, well, I've always just worked one-on-one with them and I've always done it in person. How else could I do that? How else could I get this information to them? And what else do they need right now? Because they're all sitting at home as well. So what she did was she created virtual mastermind groups. So instead of working one-on-one with her clients, she said, you know what? Why don't I bring them all together? They're not competitors in any way. They all want to learn the same thing. Why don't I bring them together 10 companies at a time in a virtual environment so that they can not only learn from me, but they can learn from each other. They can build more connections. Her mastermind groups are going gangbusters. She's replaced all of her income. And she, double-edged sword, she gets to stay home with her kids all the time. Her kids are young. So there is that still, mommy's on a call and, the kids are coming in wanting dinner and things. So there's always that adjustment. But now she's looking at this and saying, post-COVID, yeah, I can do the one-on-one in-person consulting, but now she's charging a higher fee for it because it's one-on-one. It takes more time just to get on airplanes. And everybody else is going into these virtual masterminds, which they're absolutely loving. It's going to allow her to stay home more with her kids, not have to travel as much. It's reducing her expenses. And so I want you to think about, in your post-COVID world, what are the pivots that you've made, and can you and should you keep doing those? I'll give you another example here locally in Sydney. There's a guy in the next neighborhood who's a chef for a local restaurant, and restaurant's closed, nothing for him to do. So he started cooking in his house, and every week he has 3, I wish I brought the menu with me. He has 3 meals that he makes. He posts them on Facebook, says, here's what I'm cooking this week. You just private message him and order whatever it is that you want. And you go to his house, and his backyard is set up. There's a little courtyard and there's a big table, and he's got all the meals there. They're all packed on ice. They're all packaged up, and you come and pick up your meals, and he's always got extra things that you can buy, like pickles and honey and stuff. And you come and pick up your meals. And they're absolutely fabulous. So he's getting to do what he loves. He's getting to cook. The first week when I went, there were probably 20 people total that had gotten meals. We're 4 weeks into this. I went over there yesterday to pick up meals for the week. And I was number 25 in line to pick up my meals. And when I left, there were 25 people behind me. I mean, it's just like, he's just cooking mountains and mountains and mountains of food. And so he went from, I have this job that I go to and I cook in this restaurant, to I'm making $3,000 a week, selling my own food in my backyard, and it's 1 day a week. Post-COVID, is he going to go back? I don't know. He's got a pretty good gig going. So I want you to think about this pivot that you've made, whatever it's been. Can you keep it, and can you even expand on it? I wanted to do one other thing that's more of a mindset shift, because I think part of the challenge that we're having here is all of this uncertainty, all of the disruption. We're all staying at home more than we want to. We're not getting all the in-person energy and vibe that we're used to getting. So part of the challenge now and post-COVID is going to be staying focused and motivated. Let's face it, running a business is hard. And it's not getting any easier. And post-COVID, I don't know that it's going to get any easier. The uncertainty is still going to be there. So one of the things that we use with all of our clients is what we call a daily success checklist. And I'm going to give you a format that we use. And if you want the format that we use, I'll give it to you. Don't get hung up on the format. You can do it. You can just sit down and do it on a blank sheet of paper every day. Like, you can just handwrite it. It's not about the format. But I want to walk you through these different areas, because the different areas are the magic of a daily success checklist. And so it starts with understanding what your success habits are. What are the things that you need to do every day to be a successful person, right? Do you need to meditate? Do you need to pray? Do you need to watch something inspirational or read something inspirational? Do you need to get some exercise? I practice Spanish and play the fiddle because they keep my mind sharp. I suck at, but actually I'm pretty good at Spanish, but I suck at the fiddle. I mean, like, really bad. I call it torturing the instrument. But it opens up my mind in a different way. So every day I want you to write down, what are those success habits, and check them off. There's room for 5. 3 is plenty. The next thing I want you to do is every single day I want you to write down what your 4 goals are, because that programs them into your subconscious, and it keeps you focused on what am I working for? What am I working for? What am I working for? And the more you write them, the more they become a part of who you are. So this is the preparation for the day. Before you start every day, get your success habits done and write down your goals. The middle of your day, the sort of working piece, what are the 3 things that you have to get done today before you're allowed to quit? Right? The 3 most important those key 3 things usually come from your projects. What are the 3 things I need to do to move those projects forward, to create that change, to become a better, stronger business? And then there's all the other tasks, right? That's where your activities come in and all the other stuff that's come in from the day. So you want to have those on your list as well. So your goal for the day is to check off those key 3 things and to get the other tasks knocked off as well. And then the last piece is the reflection piece. And this is where you close out the day, because one of the hard things about working in a virtual environment and working from home is, when do I quit? So what I want you to do is, when you're done with your tasks, do the reflection. What was the best part of my day? Where did I make progress? What did I learn? Am I going to do anything differently tomorrow? And then 5 things that you're grateful for. And when that is filled out, computer closed, lights off, you're done. Go be the full you, not the working you. And don't come back to it. Like, this is closing the door in your office. This is the leaving at the end of the day. So you're not checking email, you're out, you're done. Like I said, don't worry about the format. But my challenge for you during this COVID stuff and post is to create your own daily. If you want to go get one, there's a place you can go get a daily success checklist. That format, go get it. It's free. Or just do it on a piece of paper. But I'd like you to get in the habit of doing that for 30 days. It's going to help you get through all of the current uncertainty, but it's also going to focus you on the post-COVID side, because those key 3 things, you're going to have some projects that you're pulling those key 3 tasks from, right? So it's going to make you go back to your plan and say, what are the activities that I need to be doing this week? And what are the projects that I need to be working on this quarter to achieve the goals that I set at the beginning of this year? As I said at the beginning, change your tactics, not your goals. So that's what I have for you today. Let's do Q&A, because that's my favorite part.
That was so great. I would think that everyone here, I know you haven't seen the chat, Laura, but it's been really good, on fire. A lot of people have a lot of things to add. So I just wanted to just go over the rules one more time, everybody. All you have to do, just give us an indicator that you want to ask a question, either by giving us one of the icons you have. Raise your hand. That's my favorite. That's the number one, because then it brings your name up to the top and we can kind of see you. So then that way we can call on you in the order that you raised your hand. Or you can just drop it in the chat. If you want to type your question, feel free to drop it in the chat, and then, we will be able to answer it. And to help us go through the Q&A process, I'm going to turn it over to Jasmine. So Jasmine, please take it away. And Laura, one thing I'll ask you is maybe if you can, we're going to unshare your screen so you can see the people that are talking. Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. So Jasmine, take it away.
Hello, everyone. It's myself again. As Andrea mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can even use an icon to indicate that you want to speak to Laura herself, and you can ask your question. So I do have a couple, Laura, so I'm going to drop them. I'm going to
bring them in.
Ask them. Now, with you being, I know a big surprise, I think for a majority of us, was that you are overseas. We're not overseas, but you're in a different country altogether. So
I'm in a different continent.
A different continent, totally. So with working in a different continent, and I know that you said you work with people not local before COVID. Do you find that there's a benefit with working with people that are not local or not within the same country as you? Maybe there's things that you can outsource that you think we should tap into now more than ever?
Absolutely. I think sometimes we forget, because we live in such a large country with so many people and so much opportunity, that we forget that there's this huge world outside of that as well, right? I'm in Australia. There's 40 million people here who need things, and this is just working in English, right? We have clients in the UK. We have a ton of clients in Canada. Just look north of the border, right? You've got another 40 million people north of the border who live in a very, very similar society, who need very similar things. I have a ton of Canadian clients. And so I think this is a great time for us to start looking internationally and start looking globally and saying, are there opportunities for us to reach out to those folks? And even if you deliver something that's a physical product, Vicky does food, right? She's probably not going to ship food to Australia, because I can tell you it takes 30 days for anything to get from one country to the next. But thinking not just about what do you deliver, but what do you know that you could deliver, right? So, and Vicky, I'm just using you as an example. You have this fabulous catering business that you've been running. So you know how to find the clients, you know how to deliver on the services, you know how to run a wedding, you know all the stuff that can happen. Can you not just sell the product, but can you package and sell that knowledge, right? Are there other folks that want to do what you want to do who would pay to learn what you know? And I think that's another place where that global market comes into play, is selling not just what you do, but what you know.
No. I definitely agree with that. And I know that's something that our organization has been doing, because as we mentioned, a lot of times, this is our first pandemic, or this is majority of everyone's first pandemic. So it's good to just share knowledge of what you do know to help someone out, especially during these difficult times. So keeping within the same realm with shifting your business, I know that's something that you highlighted in your presentation, that you definitely want to expand. Do you think that once, or you can agree or disagree, that once this COVID season is over, should we still keep the same momentum or still keep what we're doing now and into the post-COVID lifestyle? So for instance, with the person that's doing the cooking and offering the cooking via Facebook, things like that, should we still keep doing that once COVID is over, and not just, all right, we did it, everything's back to normal, throw it away?
I think if it's working for you and if it's a more profitable model, absolutely do that. If the way you were doing things before was better and more profitable and the market still exists in the way that it existed before, I would say absolutely go back to what you were doing. So I'll give you an example. I have a client who is a professional speaker, and she does about 70 in-person on stage gigs a year. I know, crazy lifestyle, like lives on airplanes. And so she's looking at this, like all of her gigs that she had booked for the year went virtual. The challenge with virtual is people don't want to pay as much, right? So she's getting about 50 to 60% of her fees. But what she's finding is that she's so much more relaxed because she's not running around like a chicken with her head cut off on all these planes. She's looking at post-COVID. She said, you know what, I'm going to reduce the number of in-person to 20 to 30, and I'm going to make all the rest of them virtual. She said that the reduced income is well worth the increase in lifestyle. And she can do more of them, right? I mean, if she's got a gig in LA, she's got to take a day to fly there, do the gig, and then she's got a day back. So she's a minimum of 2 days gone, right? During that time, she could do 3 or 4 virtual events. So she can actually make more money sitting at home. But she likes the flying and she likes the in-person, and that will come back. So she's going to have a hybrid. And I think a lot of people are going to have a hybrid business coming out of this.
I definitely 100% agree with that. Just to, keep everything or based on what is going on, I think having the hybrid business is just good for people that after COVID season, they want to continue going virtually. Of course, you want to accommodate for them. So I know we have a question from Andrea. So Andrea, we're going to pass it over to you.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I made a new accountability partner, Derica Carter Alexander. There she is. Hi, Derica. So in the chat, she's my accountability partner because you mentioned turning the things off. So I guess I have a 2-part question. One, that's difficult. Yeah. That's hard to do, especially for type A or overachievers or people who wanted to get good grades in school and want to do their best job. And it's also easier to work because if you are now set up to have everything at home, you can't just leave your laptop and go, I'm done. So the first question is, 1, do you have any tips for how to do that? And 2, one thing you didn't mention, but I don't know if it's something you recommend, which is like making the list of things to do the day before. And I only say that because that's the only thing so far that at least helps me not check email at 10 o'clock at night, even though I still do. It's just that it gives me a place to put it, Other than that, it's just in my brain and it spins around like a little mouse. So can you help? What ideas do you have so that Derek and I can be successful?
Yes, absolutely. So, this is sort of the power of the plan, right? Is sit down in a clear space, create the plan, decide what needs to be done, right? These are the activities that need to be done. So the activities can just go on your list. Like I need to make, 10 Facebook or 10 LinkedIn connections today. I need, right? Those go on your list. And then your projects go on your list, and you're only allowed to do 4 projects, right? And you break those down into your tasks. And your job is to execute the plan. And anything that's not on the plan goes on the not now list. So it allows you to say, you know what, hey, I got this done. This is what was on the plan. And when that's done, I'm out. Whereas without the plan, it never ends, right? Because you don't know, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Am I doing the right things? It's total guesswork. Whereas having that plan is like, oh, we executed, we did what we needed to do, we're good. Now, if you get everything done on the plan and you want to go to the not now list because you're just frantic and your brain won't shut down and you want to go do some of those things, that's great. You go do stuff on the not now list, but only when the plan stuff is done. What you're going to find is that you're going to feel really satisfied by having gotten the things done for your plan. And you're going to go, okay, good. I got enough done. And I know what's on tomorrow's plan. So I can shut down. right? Because you know, sort of think about, you know, you're on this journey and it's like, oh, I drove what I needed to drive today. I'm good. I know what I need to drive tomorrow, right? So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to drive through the night. With the shutting down and all of that, I think it's really important in this time. You know, some of us used to have offices, and we had an office and we went in there and then we went home at the end of the day and we left the computer. I think it's important if you're working in a home environment to do the same thing. Have a dedicated office area, and at the end of the day, pack everything up and put it away. So like for me, I'm working in a friend's house. I'm sitting in her office right now. I close my laptop, I take my notebook and all my stuff, and I go put it in a drawer. And I don't see it. It's not on the dining room table. It's not out. It's gone. And so I can go and do the rest of my day and have that focus on being here and experiencing whatever I can experience. And so I think having that dedicated space really helps. But I'm telling you, the plan is this, it's the secret sauce.
Okay.
Without it, the work is never done.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. You're right about that. And I don't know if anyone else has any questions. Please feel free to unmute your mic if you need to. And then, oh, Dan, I think, well, I don't know, Dan, you have a mark by your name, and so does Frank. So I don't know if that was just on accident or not. But Derica, did you, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I know Derica had a question. Derica, you're unmuted if you want to ask.
Yes, I think Andrea may have brought this out, and Laura, you did a fantastic job. Thank you. This was so helpful. Is that the daily plan? Did you say, do we do that every morning, or is that what you recommend? First thing in the morning?
So you can fill it out the day before. Some people like to close out the day with filling out the next day's plan. That's great. Some people like to sit down in the morning and do it that morning. That's great. The timing doesn't matter. I will say, if you do it in the morning, fill out your plan, set up your day before you check email, before you do anything else. So if you really want to get good at this, like if you really want to zero in, and you will make sure that the tasks on your list, none of the tasks will take more than 30 minutes, right? So they're really small, defined tasks.
Okay, I need to write that down. You said
no more than 30 minutes.
Okay.
Because that's about as long as we can concentrate. And if you really want to like be hyper productive, you will get all 3 of your key tasks done before you open email. Because email is the killer. It is the place we all get sucked.
Killer.
It's a neurological thing, right? We're all addicted to dopamine, right? Dopamine is that wonderful chemical that it's a pleasure chemical. We're all addicted to it. It just is. And dopamine gets triggered from several different things. One of the things that triggers dopamine is completing something. Right? So checking something off your list, you get a shot of dopamine, right? It's like, ooh, it feels good, right? That's why when you look at your task list, you go and you get all the little piddly stuff done that doesn't mean anything, and you never get around to the big stuff, right? It's because your brain looks at your task list and it's looking for dopamine. And so so if you can give it 3 half-hour tasks, and you'll get some big whopping dopamine. You'll be flying high for about half an hour. Dopamine doesn't last very long. But the other way that we get dopamine is from novelty and from expectation. And so we go to our inbox because there might be something there, right? And so going to our inbox gives us a shot of dopamine. Going to Facebook gives us a shot of dopamine. It's why we scroll through Facebook, because we get dopamine from doing it. And our brains know that. And so if you can train your brain that it's going to get dopamine from your task list, it will stay there and it'll do things and it'll be perfectly happy. If your task list isn't set up properly, your brain is going to go someplace else to get its dopamine. It's a junkie. It will wander off into the bad neighborhood of Facebook to get its fix. It will wander off into your inbox to get its fix. And it has nothing to do with willpower or discipline or whether you're a good person, right? Or whether you're strong, none of it. It's the way we are wired. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much, Laura. You should see the
Thank you.
comments.
That was excellent.
Mm-hmm. You should see the comments. People are saying yes. I know, and Melody, you mentioned this. I'm also a person when it comes to having a checklist. I love to like mark things off and see the checklist of completion. Like that to me brings me success and joy. And I'm like, okay, my day is complete. I can now like go to sleep with a good mind. So I definitely agree with that. Now, I think we have time for maybe one more question, Sally. So if you do have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. I do have one question, and this piggybacks off of what someone said earlier. I know a lot of us have clients that are in the older demographic, for lack of better words, and with us transitioning to a virtual realm. What are some tips to assist with that transition when working with clients that are of the older demographic?
Yeah, so I think you have to be the trainer. Don't expect for them to know how to use Zoom and how to use things. Give them really simple step-by-step screenshot instructions. Like don't say, oh, go watch this YouTube video, right? You be the trainer, right? And so if you need to, if you need to get them on Zoom and they've never been on Zoom, you need to write them a really detailed email of, look, I'm going to give you a link and I want you to just click it. And when you click that link, here's what you're going to see. And then you're going to get this little window that says join. Do you want to use your microphone in video? I want you to click yes and like walk them through that. And then when they get on the call, walk them through Zoom and say, hey, let's do this together. Let's go push all the buttons so that you're comfortable with doing this. Let's practice. And it's just going to take some time and some training, and be okay being that person who's helping them, who's giving them that training. Don't expect that they're just going to go get it someplace else, because they're not. And don't expect their grandkids are going to teach them. Just be okay being that person. It's frustrating, but it will pay off in the long run.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for your guidance, for your expertise in what we were discussing today. I am now going to pass it over to Andrea for us to close out.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much, Laura, on behalf of everyone here in the chat. And I'm going to turn it over to Melody. She's got the final thoughts, I think, for everyone in the list. So, Melody, thank you so much for closing us out.
This was wonderful, Laura. I have literally been taking notes. I've been texting my business partner. I'm like, when can you hop on a call? I mean, it is like you've given us so much information that has been extremely helpful. We look forward to sharing it with the MBL members that weren't able to join us. I want to thank you again for carving time out of your day, Laura, to share with us such valuable information. To our attendees, thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. We're hopeful you're leaving the session more informed and empowered, thanks to the gems provided to us by Laura today. We ask that you continue to support the MBL Town Hall Series by saving the date and attending next Thursday, May 28th at 12 p.m., where our speakers will equip you with tools to enter the recovery phase for your business successfully. In closing, we ask that you continue to follow us on our social media platforms, to include Facebook at the MBL and Instagram at MBLRVA for the latest information on resources, programming, and special events in support of small women and minority-owned businesses. Thank you again, everyone, for your time, and make it a great day.